and environmental activist. He is a member of the People's Climate Movement and serves as a liaison between the grassroots movements and the scientific community. I'm going to keep it short. Welcome, Brandon Bond.
Don't worry, I'm not going to read my whole speech. You guys are awesome for staying here this long.
So are you.
You're cool. My name is Brandon, and I am an environmentalist. If that sounds like a confession, that's because it is. Under this administration and the society that we live in now, to be an advocate for the environment is to be an enemy of state. Never in the history of our country have we been facing such unprecedented challenges to our environment. Every day you turn on the news and it's something new. Our country is in servitude to oil, this ridiculous dependence on this fossil fuel that can't last forever. It controls everything that we do. It informs all of our action. We go to war for it. We destroy wildlife for it. We impact the environment in these terrible ways. And the only strength that we have will be found in solidarity.
Yeah.
I kind of memorized the first paragraph. In addition to being an environmentalist, I'm a high school librarian. And as such, I am kind of a curator of knowledge. And it is my duty to impart that knowledge to our students. Every day I look into the face of these teenagers, of these people who will be the leaders of tomorrow, and I can't look into their eyes knowing that I haven't done something to secure a better future for them than they have now. They need to inherit a better planet than they were born with. And you know, if we don't do anything about it, if I don't do anything about it, we are just as guilty as those who actively cause the destruction of this planet. Man-made climate change has been revealed by evidence-based science. It is not a conspiracy. It is not some devious plan of the enemy. It is absolute fact. Climate change is real. We can't deny that any longer. It's not just for the environment that I stand here, because our Earth is not the only thing that it impacts. Climate change has a high human toll, and it has a disproportionately high toll on our marginalized communities. 68% of African Americans live within 30 miles of a coal-powered plant. This is higher than any other group that we have in our country. They breathe 40% more pollutants than whites, which puts them at risk for everything from birth defects to asthma to heart disease. There has been little to no media coverage about this because environmentalism tends to focus on the environment. Well, it is in the title, but we can't forget that this impacts the people that have no choice but to be where they are and to live in the shadow of these plants. We need a rallying call. We need a moment that shakes us out of our complacency and makes us take action. For me, that moment, that clarion call came in the form of the Dakota Access Pipeline. For many years, I had become complacent. Under the previous administration, while not perfect, it had made it a little bit easier to take a breath or two when it came to the environment. For a while, it looked like we were making progress. But then, the Dakota Access Pipeline started making headlines. Like everyone else, I watched it unfold on television, through fake news on Facebook, and everything in between. And I got mad about it, but I didn't do anything. And then one night as I was sitting at home, I kind of had a revelation. Thanksgiving was coming up, and I thought that that would be a perfect time to go. What a dark connotation that holiday has for our indigenous peoples. Something that we celebrate in our suburban privileges with our food and our families all around us. And I knew that I could not spend that Thanksgiving at home in the same way that I had done before. I was going to go there to Standing Rock. I was going to show my support and see what I could do in a tangible way to help. A tangible way to get outside the comfortable bubble of my privilege and join the people that had no choice but to fight for their homes. Because this is a very personal issue to them. This is not some intangible political goal. These are their lives, their homes, and their future. we can stand back and say that we support or don't support this cause, and then we can get in our cars and drive back home having clean water, and nobody threatening that because we're in a nice population center. The pipeline was originally supposed to go upstream of Bismarck. The problem was the good citizens of Bismarck thought that that was a bad idea because it could imperil their water. What if there was a pipeline leak? We can't afford to suffer from this. We're Bismarck. So they decided to move it. They moved it just upstream of the Standing Rock Reservation because our country has a history of treating indigenous people as items to be exploited. They're something that can be gotten rid of when they get in the way. And that's what happened. It's something that we thought should be relegated to history books, something that we have learned from, but that is not the case. It still happens to this day, and it was happening there. There's a friend of mine, a science teacher, very science, who gave me the encouragement I needed to go. I don't know if any of you are like this, but I can be very impetuous. So I had an idea. I'm going to go to Standing Rock for Thanksgiving. The next morning when I sobered up, I started thinking, I don't know if that's such a great idea or not. But he gave me the strength and confidence I needed to go. We gathered supplies from the local community, 500 pounds worth, and we headed north. Neither one of us had ever been to North Dakota before, and so we set out on this adventure. Due to some navigational errors, it took us something like 14 hours to get there, which I think is a little above Google's estimates of what it would cost. But we came into camp in the middle of the night. I can never describe to you what we experienced there or what it was like. It was one of the single most transcendent moments of my entire life when we came into that camp. It was a mystic setting. It was like traveling into another world. And there was such great solidarity there. Here were hundreds and hundreds of people gathered together in primitive conditions on the frozen ground, all united for one purpose. And that's why we have to come together, because when we focus on a single purpose and we all come together, of course we all have our different agendas and different groups, but we're all really fighting for the same thing today. And I saw that at Standing Rock. Although I love my friend dearly who encouraged me to go to Standing Rock, I believed him when he said that he had something called a cold weather tent. Turns out it was just a regular tent. We were only going to be in cold weather. So I guess technically it was a cold weather tent. So we pitched the tent on the frozen ground and tried to get some sleep. There was a chartered plane from DAPL that circled the camp at low altitudes over and over again, making sleep kind of impossible, the floodlights in the distance, and we didn't get much sleep that night. The next morning, we joined in a profound ritualistic prayer at the riverside, and we were giving something during this as part of the tradition, which was corn pollen, which we took without really knowing what we were ingesting at the time, but it turned out all right for us. And then we helped out with the medical tent. We gave supplies around, and we helped mix a concoction of milk and magnesia and water that was to be used to put in your eyes when you're facing with pepper spray. And after we did that, we saw that there was a huge demonstration going on at something called Turtle Island. This was a sacred ground for the Sioux and a place that was a burial ground, a traditional place. And on top of this hill was set up the power of the Dakota Access Pipeline and the militarized police force that supported them. When we went down to that riverside and looked up on the hill, more and more soldiers, I'm going to call them soldiers because that's basically what they were. They were in combat gear, armed to the teeth, and they were soldiers in servitude to big oil. They lined up on top of that hill like gargoyles, looking down on us the same way you would look at an infestation of bugs. You could almost see the hatred and disdain in their eyes for who were gathered down there. The natives prayed and burned sage. The non-natives gathered together with them and showed solidarity. There were chants. And more people began to show up on that hill. It was kind of a dark feeling that would come upon you in looking at that. But then all you would have to do was look at the people gathered around you. The people that believe in something, like all of you gathered here today. It's easy to say you support something. It's easy to click interested on Facebook, but to actually come and be a part of something, that's very different. And every single one of you have done that today. Now, of course, I'm angry. I've been fighting. I've been ranting, and I've been raving. But something that's very important for us that we cannot forget. We're not fighting just to fight. We're not marching just to march. Although I need the exercise, it's good to walk around a lot. But that's not the only reason that we're doing it. We are fighting for something. Don't get so hung up on fighting against something. Think about what we're fighting for. We have a beautiful planet here. We have a beautiful diversity of wildlife and humanity, and it is worth fighting for. It heartens me to see all of you here. It heartens me to see what can happen in Springfield, Missouri when people turn out and when they believe in something. Thank you very much for believing, and keep fighting.
Thank you, Brandon Vaughn.